Hey everybody, welcome to McFarland Minutes. I'm Natalie McFarland, founder and president of McFarland Productions, director at Off Your Rocker Films, and your host. In these episodes, you can expect deleted scenes, in-depth campaign reviews, project highlights, marketing concepts, book reviews, and a deep dive into the creative process at Off Your Rocker Films. We'll also be covering invaluable lessons on mentorship, leadership, and the business of it all. We are so excited to be releasing our episodes every Sunday as your soft launch to Monday. Hey everybody, welcome to McFarland Minutes, Season 2, Episode 2. This is my second solo episode. Look at that go. I think really what I'm hoping to talk to you about today in Season 2, Episode 2 is really what we are seeing that is actually working for brands and some of the tactics and thoughts that we're going through as we've planned 2026 for ourselves and for all the brands that we serve, and what we'll be thinking about as we bring on new brands going forward. I think that marketing, can get loud. It can get overwhelming. There's always a new platform. The platforms are constantly changing, specifically when you get to social media. The way that people consume social media changes. The algorithms change. There's always a constant moving target when it comes to marketing software or marketing platforms. And I think really there needs to be an overarching theme across them, right? From the blogs on your website to the product descriptions on your website to social media captions, image decisions, email marketing, video marketing. If you're doing TV commercials, there needs to be a common thread. What we're seeing across platforms and really across marketers in general is that there's an amount of exhaustion that's happening, both by the people who are consuming the marketing as well as the people who are running the marketing efforts. So I think really what we're trying to say is figure out where your people are and then serve who you're for. And that's really going to be the theme of this episode. So today, I figured that I would go through some things that we see as marketing ins in 2026, things we're going to keep around or expand upon, and then marketing out, stuff that, we really are not going to be chasing in 2026 because they frequently lead to burnout, they lead to consumer fatigue, and they lead to teams fatigue. So they really end up watering down your tactics rather than strengthening your brand, right? Particularly depending on the size of your particular brand, or if you've got an agency like us working with you, or if you want to work with us in 2026, we're really looking to stabilize what is it that is the most effective for each brand where they can reach the people that they are really made for, right? So I guess with no further delay, let's talk about some of the things that we are keeping in 2026 from a marketing perspective. Got a list over here, so if you see me reading, that's what I'm doing. I'm reminding myself, what did I put on this dang list? Number 1, founder, executive, and I'm going to add, I didn't put this in my notes, but even employee visibility. I think that humans trust humans, not brands, right? So there's a whole lot of, there's a very large push to employee-generated content. It's kind of become a new buzzword for UGC, right? But this is done by your own internal employees. I love it, actually. Who knows your brand better than the people that are working for or at it, right? So I think this is really true of founders, particularly if you're still owned by your original founder in your particular brand. And if you're not owned by your original founder, is that founder still involved? And can we still use their story or tell their story? I think that even if you don't, your C-levels are also extremely valuable individuals and advocates for your brand and should be treated as such, really. LinkedIn, huge for this, right? LinkedIn is definitely the biggest platform when it comes to this, but the reality is that trust follows people. And they don't follow logos. So really what we're looking for is, I wrote here, your brand is only as credible as the human beings behind it, right? So I think that if you create a following, if people understand you as a human, it's really what we've done through this podcast for you getting to know our team a little bit better. I've been very active on LinkedIn myself. I've been testing this over the last year. We have some friends that are in the marketing industry also testing this. I'm watching others test this online as well. I think that founder visibility, employee visibility, C-level executive visibility on social platforms is huge. Somebody who I always think of when I think of this that I think is doing this in a super valuable way, and she doesn't know I'm going to mention her, is Callie Adams with Montana Silversmiths. I mean, she's got a very cool job, and she's been on the podcast before. So I may not get her title exactly right, but I believe it's like director of events or something close to that. But she basically handles all the partnerships between Montana Silversmiths and large events, which means that Callie goes to a lot of very large events. I absolutely love watching her on her personal stories, showing her point of view that is Montana Silversmiths, right? So she does this beautiful job of giving you a little bit of behind the scenes, giving you a little bit of Callie, sometimes a little bit of her friend group of amazing women who run various brands within the industry from the marketing perspective for the most part, some event individuals as well. But I think she just does a stellar job of it. And I think that type of content, I think Callie was maybe in New York or something like that here this previous week, and I got to see a little bit of her experiencing New York City, right? Not a place you typically see a Western brand going. Pretty interesting to get to see that. Also adds to the fact that I love Callie personally, right? So being able to see her content, her enjoying her job, that makes me love Montana Silversmiths even more. So that type of content is something that we're seeing be wildly successful. Personal pages also perform significantly better on average from like an algorithm perspective because they are connected with people who care about that person, right? If they care about that person and that person has a wonderful experience, the brand are really likely to create some fans of the brand through your employees' networks. So, from like a logistics standpoint, having your employees post to social media or really highlighting them as individuals. Maybe it's through a podcast, maybe they're blogging, maybe you're doing reels from your employees, right? Maybe you're highlighting individual jobs within your company. Your internal marketing department could maybe follow around and sticking on the Montana Silversmiths theme, right? Maybe they could follow around one of the designers for the day, right? Like Justin would be an incredible story to follow around. But anyway, just there's lots of companies doing this in a really great way. And I think that is number one for a marketing in for me in 2026. And I don't think that's going anywhere soon. Number two, fewer but better platforms. It is tempting for a marketing department or a C-level or an owner or a founder to be like, new platform. Why aren't we there? I agree to an extent. I think you should snag your handle pretty quick, right? Like get on there, snag your handle, put your top 3 videos on there that have performed well on other platforms. Maybe it's 1 to 2 posts, depending on the type of platform, 1 to 2 posts that people can kind of understand who you are. If you don't have a person who has the bandwidth to run that account and understand that account and get used to the algorithm and really get in on it, don't run it. Just put the most critical pieces there and wait till you're ready. The reality is that content is difficult to generate for the platforms we're already regularly using anyway, right? So let's make sure that we're executing well on the platforms that we've already got wonderful followers on, right? So we want to take care of those people who have been our Instagram crowd since day one of Instagram. I don't know. Your Facebook crowd is not going away, right? Facebook is going to live for a long time. There's a whole lot of synergy between search and Facebook. You cannot ignore Facebook, right? TikTok is kind of starting to get to be one of those regulars at this point. I don't think we can really call it the new kid on the block anymore. If you're doing TikTok, you've got the bandwidth for TikTok. That takes a lot of video work, which is a lot of time. But if you've got the bandwidth for TikTok, man, do it. Even if it's TikTok shop, maybe start utilizing some of your influencers and things like that for that. The point of this discussion is do good at the platforms that you're already doing well on, right? Don't see a new shiny new platform and spread out your energy so much that you actually end up watering it all down, right? So sure, go make sure you're present there. But I don't think we should jump on every single platform. I think we should wait until we see, one, does that platform convert? Two, does that platform serve the people that I serve, right? Do we have congruency on that app? Is there a real true reason for me to be there? Is the time, the effort, the learning, the potential burnout of my employees worth adding another platform? I think platforms across all kinds. I've spoke a lot about social media, but this is not just a social media discussion by any means. But I think you're like a jack of all trades is a master of none. And I realize that quote goes on, and I still agree with the longer version of that quote. But the first part of that quote, the one that I just said, often gets used to basically say, don't be everybody's everything. And that is true of your branding too. I don't think you can be for everybody everywhere either, right? So make sure you're choosing the platforms that make the most sense for you and then execute well. That is really what we're looking for. Number 3, and we wrote about this in our magazine. We've written multiple blogs about it. I think we've talked about it multiple times here on the podcast. I want community-focused, story-driven content, right? We want something that feels valuable. I don't necessarily need to see your employees doing the latest TikTok dance, right? Or jumping on every viral trend just in order to participate in that trend. What we really need out there is community-focused, human-centric, real relationship building pieces that people stop scrolling for, right? I want you to stop, and I want people to feel like they've gained value out of that video. If they've gained value, they probably know 2, 3, 4, 5 friends that also would gain value out of that video. They're going to hit the share button, go to their DMs, or forward the email, or share the YouTube video, or talk about you over a glass of wine on Friday night, right? So how do we create content that is for them, about them, within their community? And that community is the same community that our company is built for, right? Sitka does a great job of this. Yeti does a great job of this. Producing pieces that care about the community, that are not all about product placement, that are not all about here, buy this. Produce me a story that moves me. That's something that I want. And it's something that we strive to do for ourselves and for our clients and through Off Your Rocker Films as well. Producing stories that stop the scroll. And not just the scroll, but everywhere else as well. Number 4, long form content that gets repurposed might be my favorite reason we do the podcast, right? So there's the amount of content that is required in today's marketing world is wild. It is not about just writing a few lines of ad copy and taking a few nice pictures and doing some great graphic design and then like paying to put that ad in every place that I can think of, right? We consume an exorbitant amount of content per day. Our consumers are consuming a ton of content per day. Ideally, you're not posting the exact same content everywhere, right? But you can utilize long-form produced content. Podcasts example, films are an example, interviews, there's long-form blogs. Maybe you're writing articles for magazines, whatever it is. The long-form content pieces can easily be broken apart and repurposed for other platforms. So if you are taking the time to produce long-form content, we'll use a podcast as an example. There's reels that you can pull out of. There's statements you can pull out of it that become social captions. There's email. There's email that can be written, email copy that could be written that comes from inspiration of people speaking on the podcast. You could utilize it as a downloadable for a lead capture form. You could utilize short form content for TikTok and Instagram and blah, 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 blah on all of those social platforms. Your individual employees could utilize things that maybe they came on the podcast and they said something that they liked. They could reiterate that on their own social media. The repurposing of long form content is endless. You can use it in so many ways. And all you got to do is like go to ChatGPT and be like, I did this thing. How could I repurpose it? And it's going to give you so many ideas. Like you could utilize that. And I'm not saying go only to AI, because I probably ruffled some feathers by saying, oh gosh, use AI. Okay, AI is a tool. It is not the end all be all, but it can be a really great ideation place, right? How can we utilize this long format content that we're producing, and produce a whole heck of a lot of repurposed content out of it that becomes the short form content that you needed, right? It could be quote blocks. It could be it could be copy for your website. It could be whatever you can think of. But that kind of content, producing long form content, films, stories on people, podcasts, articles, whatever the thing is, it can all be repurposed. If you're taking the time to produce long form content, you best be repurposing it. It's going to be the best bang for your buck. And it's going to make that content the most effective, right? You're not giving it a one and done type of treatment. You're saying, yeah, this piece is worth a little bit more effort in getting it out there, right? And maybe that's some bite-sized pieces on social media or what have you. Yeah, that's basically that long form content piece. So number 5, audience depth over reach is how I worded this here. But really what I'm trying to say is that I'm looking for the communities who actually connect with the brand, right? I don't necessarily need 1 billion followers. 1 billion followers, maybe only, if you had 1 billion followers, that would be wild. But if you have 1 billion followers, how many of those are really part of your community, right? How many of those are really being served by your brand? And if it's a very high percentage saying, they're not our target market, then you're really investing in a lot of people that are not worth it. So I think some people refer to this as like, don't chase vanity metrics, right? This is very similar to that. Let's make sure that we are reaching the right people in the right place with the right time, with the right language, and on a human to human relationship level. Really just keeps going back to that. The number 6 that is and this is like step 1 in marketing. And I think that we do this even with established companies as we're coming on, mostly gets us familiar with your audience, but clear positioning. This is my favorite, right? So clear positioning is about saying who you are for and who you are not for, right? And you don't have to be like, we're not for you, but you can make it very clear who you're for, and you pre-qualify individuals, right? That helps you with that audience depth over reach. That helps you with reaching the right people. That helps you with telling real community stories, all of that. So clear positioning, know who you are, know what you do, know what problem it solves, know why people will even come to you versus some other competitor, and know who it is you're serving on a personal level because you have clear positioning. If I know my audience so well that I could walk into a coffee shop with some random audience member and probably get their coffee order right, or even what kind of coffee shop I just walked into, right? Maybe it's not a coffee shop. Maybe it's a diner instead. If I'm serving, the farming community, it might be a local diner that's right there near all the farms, right? We've got some great places here that kind of have like the unofficial farmer meetup location right on Thursdays at 8 a.m. or whatever the thing is, right? So knowing your people that well helps you connect personally and will only increase brand trust. Really, the theme of the ends is increase brand trust, increase real human two-way relationships between you and the brand, or between your customers and the brand. Okay, items we are absolutely not doing this year, right? This is stuff that we feel like is an energy suck, maybe is a burnout, like a road to burnout for your marketing team, is watering down your brand, is chasing people who are not right for you, is a little bit serve everyone. So these are the things that we're saying, not us this year, right? Chasing trends without a strategy, right? The TikTok or Instagram or whatever trends are cool, but it doesn't mean you have to participate in every one. The trends that you do choose to participate in an effort of being part of it should fit your brand voice, right? So don't try to make yourselves fit into every single thing, right? Like if you're, I mean, I can always find a reason to do it, right? But if you're a pretty serious company, right? Maybe the latest TikTok dance isn't a thing, right, for you. Or if you're a pretty serious founder, or if you're serving a little older generation, or whatever the reason being is, right? Or you're serving a very young generation, and maybe you shouldn't be doing some super serious content on the flip side of that, right? Um, Not chasing trends just for the sake of chasing virality or chasing trends, but producing trends when they make sense for you. We won't be chasing trends just to chase trends. In 2026, we really have never done that, but that's something that I feel like every brand needs to hear, is that you're really not doing that. The other thing about that, this is the piece, right? If our goal is stop the scroll, what stops the scroll? Something different, right? I haven't seen that yet. I haven't heard that yet. I have something to learn from that. If I'm doing the same, we'll stay on the TikTok dance theme here. If I'm doing the same TikTok dance as the last 300,000 people that have done that, or 3 million people that have done that, right? What scroll are you stopping? I don't think you are. I think you're trying to be a disruption in the feed without being obnoxious, right? When we say disruption, I mean don't be like, still be a human. Don't just be like screaming here by this at them. That is also a disruption, but not in a good way. You want to be a positive disruption in the feed. I don't think that that's blending in. I don't think that that's going with the trends. You could participate in a few. There are some good ones out there, but I don't think that it should be your primary strategy, nor do I think it is a strategy at all to just chase trends. Okay, number 2, volume over quality. The speed at which content goes out into the world from any given brand who is making real efforts in marketing is wild, right? We can really get into this place, and we're guilty of it too. We have done this ourselves of, oh, I got to get 4, 5, 6 reels, whatever the crazy trend is, right? At the time, whatever quantity is being recommended. I got to get all that up in 1 week. That means I got to produce a lot of reels per year, right? Man, that is, I don't know what's sustainable about that. Creatively, quality, human time and creation requirements. Shoot, you get busy at a week of travel or something like that, or you've got market or whatever. Producing that much kind of content and just producing to produce and posting to post, don't post to post, right? Don't post just to say, yep, check, did that this week. Let's post stuff that actually does something for the company, right? Or the brand or the event or the whatever, right? Same thing with email marketing. Let's not send an email just to send an email. Let's take the time to produce something that's of value. Same thing with blogs, same thing with podcasts, same thing, any platform, TV, video, brand videos, whatever the thing is, right? Produce something of quality that speaks to the right people, that will be utilized in multiple ways, that is the right messaging and is specific, opinionated, and very much you as a brand, right? Number 4, short-term metrics as the only KPI. So what I wrote here is, are you only looking at last week's clicks or likes? Are you looking at too short of a time frame? Marketing that matters is measured over quarters and years, and that's not year over year, because if we're talking about social, that changes too much. But it's measured over quarters and years, and you have the value of the long game, right? When we're talking about long form content in particular, or we're talking about community building content, we're talking about building loyal followers. Everyone will say this in the service industry, right? It is 1,000,000 times easier to sell to the customer you already have than a brand new customer who knows nothing about you. What we are trying to do is produce a community who wants to be involved with you, your brand, your story, your why, and your products, services, events, whatever it is, for the next 30 years, right? Let's produce communities that are easier to sell to and really nurture those relationships through emotional ties, as Judy Wagner would say, through real relationships, through real stories, through real community building, and through story. I think story is really what that comes down to. Don't chase the last post like, oh God, our last post only got 10 likes. Okay, well, that one was not a knock it out of the park. Why? I don't know. Maybe the world was busy that day, right? Maybe we captured the Venezuelan president that day and there was too much content about that to even see yours on the internet that day. Too soon, maybe. Anyway, the point is, don't chase metrics one post at a time, 1 week at a time, maybe not even 1 month at a time. I'm needing you to watch it over quarters. That's applied to email, SEO, all of it. I keep saying that, but I'm really talking cross platform. Social does come up frequently because it seems like a lot of these are social related, pretty heavy, but they could be applied everywhere. Hiring an agency without having an in-house person who becomes their primary contact, that is going to be an out for us. We obviously are an agency, right? Dangerous thing for Natalie to say. But the reality is that someone on the brand side has to own the relationship with the agency, because agencies can only move as fast as the brand wants to move, right? So there's lots of miracle things that can happen with agencies, but it happens best when we are a partnership with your in-house individuals, right? So we work best when we are supplementing your internal marketing team. Maybe you've got kind of a smaller sized marketing team for the size of market that you guys take up. And you're needing some extra hands. You're needing some time on your hands so that you can have a little bit more of the thought process. Maybe you don't have an internal marketing department. You need somebody who's being able to take the time to think strategically based on your business goals. That's still going to take a partner, right? We've worked in all of those situations. The ones that are most successful are the ones that there is an in-house individual who becomes our best friend, right? And vice versa. We want to serve you best we can. And I think that outsourcing without ownership is what I wrote. That's kind of a big one for making an agency partnership successful, and one that we are always looking for, and is a pre-qualifier for us, quite frankly, is do we have a person in-house that we can partner up with, right? We are genuinely here to be an extension of your brand, but we've got to know somebody to be an extension for you. So why does all of this matter? I think that attention is expensive, right? It's difficult to buy people's attention, get you to not scroll, just get you to stop scrolling for 10, 12, 15 seconds. If I can make it past that point, it's pretty expensive to get you to that point, right? We're talking about producing content that you've connected with, that you want to stop scrolling for. You want to not push the delete button the second you get that marketing email. You want to intentionally go read the blog for. You want to learn something from them. You're going to listen to an hour-long podcast of Natalie rattling on. Producing that content has a cost, right? You're even like social media is free, right? If you're talking about organic social, but it isn't free at all because there is labor involved. There is time involved. There are humans involved, and there has to be enough time involved in that in order for that person to, 1, be effective, 2, not get burnt out, and 3, make real connections with communities. So attention is expensive, takes a lot. Trust is everything. Just goes back to building community, trust, human relationships. It is all about building loyal followings that your brand is pouring back into, and they will return the favor, right? I think people talk about this in mentorship all the time, is you never know number one, who your hero is, but you also never know what that 5 minutes you took to stop in the hallway in Las Vegas, you don't know what that meant to someone, right? Something you did 2 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, or 2 weeks ago could be the thing that really changes the trajectory of life. Same thing in marketing. We're trying to build trust between the brand, the event, the service, whatever it is, and the people that they serve, who it's for. Consistency compounds was my last reason here that I wrote down. And man, you are way better off at anything: playing sports, running a business, marketing, sales, engineering, trying to get good at trap shooting. Just started that last week, right? Flying an airplane. You are way better when you are consistent, right? No different for a brand. They should be treating that the same way. So, consistency is key. Continuing to push, just keep on the path. Attitude, fear, blind ambition, right? And just going forward with something, sticking to it, and push through, right? Consistently pushing, consistently showing up. If you are consistent, you've already beat the competition who isn't, right? People who are consistent on what they say they're going to do, and they consistently execute, and they consistently show up, you're going to remember those people. So consistency is key. So McFarland Productions, obviously, is a marketing and creative agency. These are our opinions and on real brands that we're working with now, brands that we follow, brands that we study, people that we study. This is what we are seeing that's working in the world, right? We don't just harp on this community thing. We don't harp on consistency. We don't harp on don't chase trends. We don't harp on all these things or long form content for no reason, right? Sure, those are the things we like to do, but we like to do them because they work. So in 2026, that is our opinion. So if you're planning your 2026 strategy now, I hope you already did this. I hope you at least started this last year, right? We started in October, but if you're starting it now, you're not too late. You certainly can make it done. You certainly can get it done in January. Sometimes you need a partner for that. We could help you with that. We do strategy sessions on top of our regular ongoing retainer work. Obviously, we want to work with you and your brand on an ongoing basis if we can. Maybe there's just a few one-off things that you need a little bit of help on. But my point is if you have questions about the things that I'm saying, marketing in, marketing out, and you're like, ooh, I don't know, maybe what I'm doing is a marketing out. Maybe there's a reason she mentioned that particular thing. Maybe I don't quite know how that one applies to me. Happy to help. So you can always reach out to us. I'm actually going to put my whole list in this blog as well, or the show notes for this podcast. Good grief. I've talked about so many platforms today. I'll put the list in the show notes for this podcast, so you can see what we're saying in versus out. And then if you've got questions, sure, reach out to us. I am happy to be your sounding board too for your 2026 plans. So, and so is the rest of our team. We are when this goes up on the 11th, we will still be recruiting for the director of strategic storytelling position here at McFarland Productions. So if you're interested, please go apply for that. At Of the West, you can also get to it through our careers page. You're still going to end up at our Of the West listing, but if you can't find us on Of the West, you can go through McFarlandProductions.com/careers. And then let's see, next week, I believe I've got a guest next week. I am pretty sure it is a Centennial brand. That is pretty cool. So I hope that you join us next week. Thanks for listening.